More, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence revealed Wednesday that a whistleblower who reported the wrongdoing surrounding the Trump-Russia collusion hoax has been threatened. According to Just the News, Tulsi Gabbard released new documents yesterday that showed what her office called the whistleblowers' relentless efforts to expose the egregious manipulation and manufacturing of intelligence. The document also cited claims of a supervisor pressuring the whistleblower to endorse the alleged and inaccurate findings of Russian involvement in exchange for a promotion. Just the News also reported the whistleblower shared their concerns with more than a dozen government offices over the past 6 years, including the Department of Justice, Special Counsel John Durham, a U.S. Senator, and the Intelligence Community Inspector General. And joining us now is author, award-winning journalist, and founder of LibertySentinel.org, Alex Newman. Alex, when you consider the sheer amount of information that is now coming forth about the Russian collusion hoax and the lengths that some would go to hide the truth, is it any surprise that the original whistleblower is actually being threatened?
Not at all. In fact, this is what we've come to expect. We saw during the Biden administration and before that during the Obama administration that threatening whistleblowers is part of the modus operandi of these people. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why we don't have even more whistleblowers coming out. But I'm hopeful that now that the tide has turned a little bit, more people will come forward and share what they know.
Let us hope. Now, this week, you published an article in the Liberty Sentinel entitled this, "Huge Backlash as Pediatrician Group Seeks to End Vax Mandate Exemptions." What's going on with the American Academy of Pediatrics?
Well, they're very concerned that parents and Americans generally are losing confidence in their pronouncements. They just saw the recent CDC-funded study that showed that American parents are overwhelmingly now skeptical of the recommendations from big pharma and from big government. And I think they're in a bit of a panic. So they've now recommended the removal of all religious and philosophical exemptions in every state for children who go to school. In other words, they'll need to take these vaccines unless they have a medical exemption. So this is an act of desperation, I think. The response has been overwhelming outrage. I mean, we've got multiple medical groups, multiple prominent doctors coming out and expressing serious criticism of this. So I think it's time we have this debate, but I think it shows a little bit of desperation on the part of the AAP.
Yeah, and Alex, academic and author David Hughes spoke to you about an omniwar raging that seeks to end human freedom and self-government. Who is driving this hidden war against us?
Well, he identifies a number of sinister individuals involved in this omni-war. He talks about particular groups. He mentioned the Bilderberg, which is kind of a shadowy once-a-year gathering for wannabe elitists and their minions. You've got other groups like the Council on Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commission, some of these secretive societies like Skull and Bones, and the Bohemian Grove out in Northern California are some of the few. But I think from a Christian perspective, what's going on here is very clear, and it's exactly what the Bible describes, right? If you go to Psalm 2, you have the kings of the earth conspiring or taking counsel together against the Lord and his anointed. If you go to Paul in the letter to the Ephesians in chapter 6, he talks about the powers and principalities, spiritual wickedness, and the forces of darkness in high places. So I think it's very clear that there are evil forces at work waging war on God and God's people and God's truth. And I think that's really what we're seeing here reframed now as an omni-war that is taking place across every domain.
Wow. Now, the UN education agency known as UNESCO received a major black eye, Alex, from the Trump administration this week. Give us the details on this.
So the State Department just announced that we will be leaving UNESCO again. This marks the third time that we're getting out. And I think that's very encouraging news for those of us who are concerned about UNESCO's efforts to indoctrinate children, not just across the United States, but around the world with their propaganda. But one of the things that to me was very alarming, and I'm hoping that the Trump administration is going to address this, is that the Director General of UNESCO, who's a well-known socialist, a member of the Socialist Party, her deputy is actually a card-carrying member of the Chinese Communist Party, they publicly said, we're going to keep working with our American partners and keep doing what we're doing, regardless of whether the United States government is leaving or not. So this is very troubling. I'm pleased that Trump is taking this seriously, but we need much more.
You know, last Sunday, more than 43 worshipers, including 19 women and 9 children, were massacred by Islamic terrorists during an early Sunday morning Catholic prayer vigil in the Democratic Republic of Congo. It happened at about 1 a.m., actually. What should America and other Western nations be doing to combat the growth of such horrific attacks?
Well, one thing that can be done is stop subsidizing it, stop encouraging it. Prior to the Trump administration, we saw a consistent track record of the U.S. government intervening on the wrong side of these conflicts, encouraging and sometimes even facilitating these things through U.S. aid and other agencies. So we need to stop all that. We need Christians to be in prayer, and we need world leaders to speak out very clearly here.
Yep, in prayer is correct. Now, be sure to read Alex Newman's work along with his fellow journalists at libertysentinel.org. Alex, great to have you with us today.
Thank you so much.
You bet. Fjord.